In 2019, I earned a total of $60,000 from the 5 mobile games that I've released so far, which is good. But since I work as a full-time solo game developer and I live in Sweden where more than half of that income is paid in taxes and where the cost of living is pretty high, it's not as good as it first seems. Still, it is a good salary all things considered, and that is precisely the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. I often see other indie game devs completely disregard or sometimes even outright on the mobile game industry, only to then develop yet another platformer for Steam. Honestly, I can't say I blame them, because mobile games have a bad reputation, and deservedly so, but I am convinced that those games would do way better on mobile as opposed to other platforms such as Steam. I hope this video will convince at least someone to consider developing for mobile, because as far as my experience goes, it's still the most viable option. However, if you have absolutely zero interest in playing mobile games or can't even imagine ever wanting to play one, then forget what I've said, because you won't enjoy making them. But the mobile game industry won't change as long as good developers go bankrupt on platforms where customer expectations exceed their ability to create a game. With that said, I will now show you some more statistics from my games, but I just want to make clear that my message isn't to shame solo devs for making PC games. Just to say that if you're after financial success, I think the mobile is a much better option, especially if you're less experienced. Anyway, first off, here's the amount of money that I made over the 12 months of the year. As you can see, August brought a huge increase in revenue. This was when I released the career update for Gamedev, and in fact Gamedev is the highest earner on Android, even though Bouncy Basketball is the best performing game overall. When Bouncy Basketball got popular a few years ago, I could see a pretty solid correlation between performance on the two platforms. But for Gamedev, this hasn't been the case at all, and I honestly can't explain why. My only guess is that the downloads directly from the search bar is barely taken into consideration by the App Store, and therefore word of mouth is less effective on iOS. As for my other games, the revenue is negligible, and I didn't even include Jumpy Canyon because we don't talk about Jumpy Canyon. I've been using AdMob since I started, but last year Gamedev got what can only be described as the mobile game equivalent of YouTube's demonetization. And I wasn't surprised when the customer service told me that there was nothing I could do, so that's when I switched to Unity ads. Needless to say, there's no love lost between me and Google, but there are a few things that I've noticed when using Unity ads, so here's a quick comparison between the two. AdMob has a very stable, effective CPM, whereas Unity tends to fluctuate a lot, sometimes to ridiculous extents. I'm not sure why, but I think it's because Google has more advertisers, and so their money in their system is more consistent compared to Unity. With AdMob, you get paid the month after, whereas with Unity you receive the payment 2 months after. Now this might not be a huge deal, but I guess it's worth mentioning because it does cause unnecessary complications with accounting. AdMob's dashboard is a lot better at showing you detailed report of your revenue and other information that you might be after as a developer. I think it's simply due to the fact that Unity Ads is relatively new and compared to Google way behind in terms of experience with ads, so I reckon it will be improved. AdMob is a third-party SDK regardless of the engine you use as far as I know, and this just isn't the case with Unity Ads, where it's directly built into Unity, and so the experience of using Unity Ads is much smoother and easier, especially for a new developer. Finally, as mentioned before, AdMob and Google in general have no customer support whatsoever. They do have outsourced workers, or what I think is even more likely at this point, bots, with names such as Steve or Mark that try to trick you into thinking you're having an email conversation with a human being, but the pre-made answers do more to confuse you than actually give you, an answer. I'm not too familiar with Unity's customer support, but the little interaction I've had with Unity in the past has been positive, so yeah. All in all, I personally prefer Unity ads over AdMob, even though there's still a bit left to be desired in terms of features and the eCPM. But that's going to improve as Unity grows, whereas the corporate mentality of an already established giant like Google is unlikely to ever improve. You could make the case that Unity is on the same path, but I'm willing to take that risk because there's still at least a chance that they'll turn out okay. I hope this video was informative to some of you. Feel free to comment down below with your opinions on the matter. Thanks for watching, bye bye.